Welcome back, Nick Lenz. Comic Corner, Classic / Non-Classic. This is episode number 885 and Doubleshot number 789. Two X-Men trades, and they're both finales for respective series. First up, it is X-Men Blue, Volume 5, Surviving the Experience. This collects issues 29 to 36. Written by Cullen Bunn, and artwork by at least about 4 different artists. Yeah, first you have Nathan Stockman, this issues 29 and 30. 31 is done by Ray Mandelli, who's issue 31. You have Marcus 2, this issues 33 and 36. Andreas Galot, this issue 32. The cover art is done by R.B. Silva. Yeah, he does all the covers. With Rain Bernio, who does the cover for 29 and 34. Matt Malia is issues 35 and 36. Roughly, these issues are, simply put, Cullen Bunn tying up the loose ends for this series. We see sort of a wrapping up the stuff with Jimmy Hudson, who become a Poison. Yeah, these are things from the Venomized crossover. Yeah, there are references to that in here. And we see, in the last issue, we see the adult Jean Grey meeting up with the past Jean Grey, one of like 3 times these 3 people have actually met. Of course, they also met in the last issue of the Jean Grey ongoing series, which ended like prior to this one did. And we see Havoc there, and of course, this is just set up for his brief run in the Astonishing X-Men series. Yeah, because his face has been healed, and it's implied that he might be hooking back up with Polaris, but it's not really clear. Magneto kind of goes back to be a terrorist, sets up a new brotherhood. Yeah, it's basically the end of this and the start of something new. Though this would lead into the Extermination miniseries, which I'm looking forward to reading that one. That was actually pretty good. Yeah, I'm going to give this book roughly a 9.5 out of 10. It's really good. And my final thoughts on this series is that this series was really, really good to read. It actually had a tie in the Secret Empire, a tie-in that actually mattered. Unlike another series I read, where its tie-in really had very little to do with Secret Empire, this one actually felt like it was actually part of the crossover. Because the X-Men were doing things. Unlike the Resistance, where half the time they were doing nothing in the main story. At least in the tie-in, the X-Men doing something. They actually try to liberate camps, which were... Now, the mutants, they would not have a problem. The mutants got their own country for some reason, called New Titan, with Zorn as his puppet ruler. Yeah, Zorn is referenced in here. He actually died in the previous story arc, along with Bastion. Yeah, it's mostly, like I said, mostly fallouts that happened in the previous arc. Yep. I think bringing back Bastion, that was a good idea, but it seems like Cullen Bunn just brought him back briefly just to kill him off again. I'm like, why? I mean, at least the guy had been dead for a long period of time. He had been dead since 2010. He came back in 2017 of all things. I was shocked to see him. As for how he came back, it's actually a very good retcon. Like of how he could definitely survive being vaporized by Hope Summers. Yeah, how did he survive? He transferred his conscience prior to his main body being destroyed with one of his drones. Okay, I can probably accept that. Yeah. And yeah, overall, really fantastic series. And also that even though this is like Wrath of Humans vs. X-Men, here's kind of the strange thing. There is like no mention of Iceman's boyfriend in this series. Nope, no mention at all, which is kind of weird. Alright, next up it is the final trade for X-Men Gold. This is X-Men Gold Volume 7. This collects issues 31 to 36 and the annual. Yeah, the only annual of the series published before it ended. Yep. Mark Guggenheim writes... Yeah, he writes the issues themselves, plus he writes the annual with Lee Williams. The backup story for the annual is done by Monte Nero. Now, for issues 31 and 36, the artwork is done by Perry Perez, and 33 and 34 is done by Michelle Benita. The first story in the annual is done by Lena Martinez, and the backup story is done by Debajar Masad Pan. I think it's pronounced the person's name. Yeah. First, we start out with the aftermath of the controversial issue 30, where we have the tease of the wedding of Colossus and Kitty Pryde, and then for some reason, I don't know, Guggenheim had cold feet and decided to switch to be Rogue and Gambit for some reason, and this got spun off their own ongoing series. As in the case of Colossus, apparently he still loves Kitty in some way, and then he walks off going out to the Astonishing X-Men series. Yeah, goes off to that for about 5 issues before the series gets canceled. Yep. So yeah, and of course Logan is here. He doesn't do much of anything in these issues. Yeah, he already left prior to this. So yeah, it seemed like the X-Men roster for this series had been dramatically shrinking. Because for these issues, the roster is this: Kitty Pryde, Storm, Rachel Gray, I think she knows Pestilence. I think it is. That's her code name. With Nightcrawler, yeah, her relationship with Nightcrawler had been building for a little while, and then like toward the end of the series, it's like, nope, I'm breaking up with you. Yeah, they break up for some reason. I don't know why. It's one of those bizarre things. They also have her sort of a nervous breakdown for a few issues, so I thought that was weird. And then the rest of the series is just Storm going home because she finds out their foster mother died, and of course, then her parents get brought back by this leader of death cult. We all see her get her thunder powers back. Yeah, and get this. Her last and her hammer appear because she goes back to being sort of this like goddess of thunder. Not like Jane Foster though, but yeah, she gets back this hammer, which actually is last appearance back in the X-Men Serve Protect miniseries. That was last this thing physically appeared. And then pretty much after that, we have the last issue being just the end of the series. Of course, Kitty Pryde just talking to Colossus briefly. Storm putting on this outfit, which I kind of like this outfit. It's kind of a nod to, I would probably say, her classic look that Chris Clement carried back in the 70s in a way, but a little more covering it up. That's basically how I look at it. Oh yeah, this thing is called God of War. The annual is just, of course, the cover. I should talk about the cover. The cover is a homage to a Excalibur cover. Yes, it's a homage to this one right here. This is the cover for X-Men Gold number 1, and number 1. Yeah, this is a homage to Excalibur number 1. Yeah, which has the debut of the daughter of Captain Britain and his wife Megan. Excuse me. So they invite Nightcrawler, Rachel Gray, and Kitty Pryde to the lighthouse. Yeah. Those who didn't know about Excalibur, that was a team created by Chris Clement back in the, I believe it was the 90s. I think it was like late 80s he created this team. Fantastic team, by the way. He never actually finished writing this series, but it was a really good team. It's basically a mixture. It's kind of like what would happen if the X-Men would have a mixture of an X-Men and Captain Britain series. Yeah, it basically had the X-Men during a period of time when they were declared dead. And Kitty Pryde, yeah, it was Kitty Pryde, Nightcrawler, and Rachel Gray were on this roster, and the baby, of course, is only a few months, and the daughter's a few months, so apparently she's already talking, and she interacts with Kurt very well. Yeah, apparently Kurt is very good with children. I would love it if he became a father, even though in like 2 alternate timelines he does. Yeah, he does it in this book. Yeah, he's a father in this book. He has several kids, including one of them who happens to be the same name of the character from the Exiles book, whose mother is Scarlet Witch, by the way. I think it's so bizarre. Yeah. And they sort of like have a little fun with it, and the thing ends with like Brian reveals the reason why he invited these 3 there. He asked them to be her godparents. Not a bad idea because they're such good friends. But 2 godmothers and a godfather. I wonder how that Nightcrawler explained to her later that his parents are not nice people. His mother is a shape-shifting terrorist who's a beautiful shape-shifting terrorist, and his father is a demon. Yeah. I wonder how she's going to take it when she finds out that his father is a demon. But I don't think Captain Britain even knows. Some of the X-Men know his father was a demon. As a matter of fact, Azazel's last appearance was back when Jason Aaron wrote Amazing X-Men. Though that was about, I think it was back in 2013, I think it was. Yes, of course it's been about 5 years since his last appearance. Back, I think of anyways. But yeah. Of course, there's also in here sort of a flash forward to Days Future Past, which I'm like, that's interesting. Yeah, overall, this is actually pretty good. I'm giving this book a 9.5 out of 10. And also, I'm going to get my final thoughts on the X-Men Gold series. Yes, there were some things I didn't like about the series. Number one, the return of the bigotry. And the way Guggenheim did it I didn't really care for it. We had this one newswoman who apparently is head of the Heritage Initiative, and somehow she gets so much influence that she wants to have a law passed to have mutants deported. Are you freaking serious? Also, the original artist was fired for this book due to writing, apparently this writer was also anti-Semitic, anti-Semitic messages in the book, drawing that, and apparently he got fired from the book. This is right after the release of issue 1. Yeah, I've never heard of an artist who gets fired for that. The only time I think of where an artist leaves with the one issue, right after the start of it, was John Boy Myers, who left because he had disagreements with Ben Percy. Yeah, and Old Logan part of this roster was a good idea, and plus, I love the fact they went to the negative zone. But I kind of disagree with the whole thing and the fact that, and also, one of the main villains of the series was Mesmero, a villain who, not my personal favorite X-Men villains, and yet, because he's a powerful sidekick, people think that the X-Men he manipulates it. Basically, the way he's basically the X-Men version of Mysterio. That's basically what he is. He creates illusions. Though that's actually physical mutant power, unlike Mysterio, who has to use special effects in order to accomplish that. Yeah, and they actually briefly prison for a few issues. Storm suffered through claustrophobia. And despite the fact that there's overwhelming evidence the X-Men were framed for attacking the police, they were arrested anyways. I'm like, are you freaking serious? I mean, Guggenheim made some stupid decisions in the series, but a lot of the stories in the series were really, really good. I even love the crossover they had with X-Men Blue, where it was the Mojo War crossover, where that was Guggenheim and Colin Bunn doing a love letter to the X-Men franchise, which I really appreciated that. As someone who's a fan who's read a lot of X-Men comics and loved their history, that's actually really good. Yeah, that's what it seemed though when you read these two books, that for these two series, Blue and Gold, that these are basically the writers tend to influence, take a lot of. It's basically they're getting themselves their own version of a love letter to the X-Men franchise. Though when these series came out in 2017, the X-Men franchise has been around for about. The X-Men came out roughly about 54 years prior. I mean, last year was the 55th anniversary. And here's something also interesting about these two titles. That even these two titles published for a little over a year, and they published 36 issues, how is that possible? Simple. They published 2 issues a month. Yep. The entire series was like this. Now, the thing about X-Men Gold, the X-Men Gold had a tie-in to Sacred Empire. A tie-in that really didn't matter anything at all. Didn't feel like a tie-in. It felt like he briefly referenced the whole thing with the Darkhold stuff, taking Manhattan over, and then it's completely forgotten right after that, because dealing with a serial killer who had been roaming around Central Park in issue 1. So at least Guggenheim built up that guy, and apparently he was some protester. Oh yeah, and speaking of a protester, they actually meet a doctor from issue 1. She shows up in here and she treats I believe it was Rachel. And here's the thing. One of the doctors refused to treat her because she's a mutant. Wow. Oh my gosh. Yeah, the last time I saw prejudice like this was during Chuck Austin's run, where apparently they refuse to treat this kid because they're immune. That is stupid prejudice. Very stupid indeed. And the only time I can think of this actually has also happened kind of in real life as well, where I've heard stories about the Dr. Ben Carson who performed the famous surgery to split the two twins who end up dying not long afterwards. I've read about it. Where apparently people refused to actually be his doctor, be their doctor because he was black. Yeah, very similar prejudice. I'm not sure what inspired Guggenheim to do so much prejudice against the X-Men here. And then, of course, after the law was passed, even though even the X-Men saved their lives from freaking Omega Red of all people. Yeah, I think it was Omega Red. No, I think it was one of the Iron Man. I think it was Titanium Man who attacked the Senate room that they were meeting in, and Kitty Pryde herself basically was defending the X-Men. They're X-Men heroes. You do not need to deport us. A lot of us are American citizens. And they passed the law anyways. And then, right after the law is completely ignored. Because, right after that, people are protesting it. This lasts for a good few issues, and this just dropped. Yeah. Eventually, the New Zealand woman is actually finally arrested. What for? Attempted genocide. And she's brought in by the Alpha Flight program, which is a government program, so that they can legally arrest her, even though it's funded by Wakanda. Yep. Now, as for why in the world that they took them so long, because they couldn't find any evidence to arrest her, and also the fact that they also found out that she was responsible for funding the New Brotherhood. Yeah. Even I question, why would a bigot fund a terrorist group like the Brotherhood Immunes? I mean, heck, people accuse in the books in the X-Men universe, they've accused the X-Men to be terrorists, even though that's not true at all. Yeah, they're actual heroes. Heck, it's pointed out by a doctor that they're not mutants, they're not heroes, they're just people. I'm glad, in fact, he didn't write that Guggenheim to write this woman to be a bigot. That would have been stupid, really, really stupid for him to do. Guggenheim himself was a good writer, but the guy is also, well, he was a showrunner for Arrow. He isn't anymore. They replaced him after he'd been showrunner for the show for the first 6 seasons of the show. And now it's somebody else. I don't know who is showrunner now because I didn't finish up season 6 yet. Yeah. So, yeah, that's really it for this particular review. Stay tuned. Maybe later on tonight I might be able to do another comic corner. I maybe do 2 more videos today, but if not, who knows, okay? Produce next review. Bye.